Hello, Melissa.
How are you doing?
Just fine. So I sent back that that information to the IRB coordinator. It was a nice, quick response from her, Kristen Shabesta.
Yeah, they seem to be pretty quick.
Small school. Yeah. So what is this course video that I was looking at? You know, trying to dot all the I's and the T's, and I'm going into settings and trying to fill everything up in the settings and about, and it has this course video, like to introduce the course video. Do you know anything about it?
I think that's like a welcome video you can put on the first page, but I'm not sure. Jenny, do you?
Yeah, we haven't utilized that so far, but if you wanted to introduce your course using a short video, you could record yourself and then upload it to YouTube and then embed it right there.
Okay, that's where that goes?
Yes, but I mean, you don't have to do that. Don't feel compelled.
But as part of like teaching online, that's a good practice for like your own classes and whatnot, but not needed for the HydroLearn modules.
Yeah, it was just kind of interesting. So I was going through that about page, and then I saw all this, like we're supposed to fill out all this HTML code, and then I'm thinking, oh, this might be just copied from here into a module so we could fill it out, because it looked like what we were filling out. So
yeah, so if you used the module template to create the module that you're using now, in the very final section, it has information about how to change the about page to customize it for your module.
yeah, that's what I was going through, the about page at the very end. And then it said go into the settings, and then so I was going through that, and there was all this HTML code, and I said, hold it, this is the stuff that I filled out on the introductory page of the module, you know, module introduction. It's the same stuff, and I'm just wondering why it has to be filled out on the introduction page and then back there, and it just seemed confusing to me.
I think there's some slight differences between the module intro and the about page. But if you have some overlap, you can just copy the text and then paste it into the HTML too. So
we have to go into that HTML and fill that stuff out in the HTML.
Yes, that isn't something that we can remove. That comes with this being a platform from EDX.
Okay. All right, because it seemed to have very similar information, and I was thinking, oh, you know, before I jumped into that, I wanted to ask about that. Because I'm not an HTML person, coder. I've never dealt with it, but it's not all that confusing. It's just like, well, all right. I was just surprised we didn't have to do anything in HTML specifically before, and then we get to that, and I'm going, what the heck is going on here?
We always love to throw you guys for ringers. We can't help it.
Yeah, at the very last module, it says go ahead and start writing HTML code. Another question, I sent this to Laura. So I had this one, the about module, and I was typing that in, and I highlighted a heading, and I called it heading 4, and then I highlighted another one, and it says heading 4, and even though they're all labeled heading 4, they have five different sizes. They're not all uniform in size. And then I actually did go into the HTML code, and I noticed some were going, this is 1.2 EP exclamation point important, and the other ones were like 25 points, so they weren't all coded the same way. And the question I had was, why would it say 1.2 EPX exclamation point important? Is the exclamation point just a comment?
Did you any of that text, did you cut and paste that text from any other document?
No. Well, no,
So
hold on.
sometimes
That was the introduction. That was in the module setup.
So, oh, okay. If you cut and paste text into HTML fields, it sometimes brings along extra information like fonts and bolds and things like that. So you have to just be a little bit careful with that.
Yeah, but these were in the headings. These were in the headings, and I think the headings of the module were already pre-entered. Anyway, it looks like crap because it's got like 5 different headings, even though they're all heading 4.
You have to be an HTML coder to sort it out, which is annoying.
Was this an advanced text or HTML text?
I think it's an HTML text.
Yeah, that explains it.
It must be HTML text because you can't actually look at the advanced text HTML.
That's true. Thank you. I realized that after I said it.
Yeah, I guess I was able to go into HTML and look at it.
So I put the link to today's slides in the chat box, although of course they're in the same meeting folder. Before we jump in and get started, today there will be some presentation that everyone, that we do all together at the beginning, and then we'll break out into 3 breakout groups. One led by Dave, talking about Jupyter Notebooks and Google Colab. One where Courtney is going to talk about her experience adopting an existing module into her course this past spring. And one where Ahmad talks about diffusion of innovation in your modules. This is related to our question for you yesterday about what you still wanted to know about. So there is a doodle poll link at the bottom of this slide. And if you will click on that link, you can enter your name and then tell us which is your preferred breakout room to go into. Please just choose one room because you can't be in 2 places at one time.
And if you're interested in mine, I've put a link where it says add questions here that goes to an open Google Doc, and you feel free to add things there that questions that you want to try and have addressed, and then we'll open it up and see what folks have said.
So I'll wait a little bit and give everyone some time to, and I'll just put that link to the slides in there one more time to make sure that you get your to choose your own adventure.
Betsy, your person is here. She already is heading that way.
All right, it looks like we've got 18 responses so far. If you haven't yet picked a room to go to, I'll just put that doodle poll in the chat. For those who maybe joined us a few minutes late, right now we're going to this doodle poll and you are letting us know which adventure you would like to go on today. We have 3 different rooms, 3 different presentations. Dave will be talking about Jupyter Notebooks. Courtney will be talking about her experience adopting a module into her class. And Ahmad will be talking about diffusion of innovation. All right. As people continue to complete the doodle poll, I will go ahead and get started. So today we're going to talk about keeping in touch. So kind of what's going to come after this hackathon. We're going to talk about the checkout process. We have come up with a very comprehensive list of everything that you have left with very specific dates and kind of links and things for you. We will talk about the post-workshop dates that you voted on yesterday in your doodle polls. And then we will go to the choose your own adventure section of the morning. So let's go ahead with a check-in. What was your favorite part or aspect of this workshop so far? I will put the poll in the chat. What was your favorite part or aspect of the workshop? Jenny, do you want to share so we can see the responses as they come in? Oh no, the poll filled up. Well, if it filled up before you got to put your response in, feel free to add it to the chat.
I like that one. Working as a team and part of a group, genuinely trying to improve engineering education. That is great.
Mine was taking a while to connect and then it booted me out.
Oh no, Joanne, what were you going to say?
I said my phone was taking a while to connect and then it booted me out. So I never really got in a mod's room.
Oh, we haven't gone into the breakout rooms yet, Joanne.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry about that. Want to see
No
some
problem.
mountains?
Yeah.
Can you see?
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah. Winter Park, Colorado.
Very
Oh.
nice.
Actually Fraser, but near Winter Park.
Freddie says that the poll got filled up. So
Oh.
I'm going to switch around my picture just to compete.
is there a way to see all of these on the same screen, or you scroll up and down? Or?
I think you have to scroll up and down.
Okay.
You can make the shared part smaller. I mean, you can make the screen part smaller, and the everybody's picture part then takes up the rest of the space.
All right, so Jenny, do you want to give the screen back to me, please?
Yep.
Well, one thing that I noticed about all those comments is how much they had to do with collaboration and working together. And for me, that was definitely my favorite part of the workshop, getting to know all of you and kind of seeing all the cool ideas. Hopefully, well, I think from that poll, we can see that a lot of people felt the same way about all the great ideas and collaboration that were happening there. That happened over the last 2 weeks. So thank you for all the ideas that you shared and hanging in there with us. So as you know, we have set the deadline of July 31st for you to send your modules to us in pretty decent form. We will give you feedback after that, and then would like revisions. We'll talk more about kind of how that process will work in just a minute. And one thing that Imad said is, or mentioned earlier, is that this is constantly evolving. So you may have, well, I know some of you have like mega plans for 8 sections in your module and all this stuff. So make sure that what you're submitting to us at the end of July is a full comprehensive module. But if it's 6 of your 8 sections, or if it's smaller than you initially planned, but you know in the future you're going to expand on it, that works. It just needs to be a kind of a comprehensive whole on its own. And so in the next 29 days, you can always reach out to your assigned content, education, or technical guide. The link to the assigned points of contact spreadsheet is here. And of course, the spreadsheet is also in your Google folder. And our email addresses are in those spreadsheets. And we can schedule a Zoom meeting to help as needed, or we can answer questions via email. In answering questions, if we feel that there are questions or answers that are of general interest, we may CC all the fellows to share information with you. So one thing that, a question we've gotten a few times is, there's been all this information presented, but how do you find it? Like for instance, I want to know how to add a video to my HydroLearn course or module. How can I find that information again? So there are actually 2 ways to search the information that we have shared with you. You can search in HydroLearn 101, or in any course in HydroLearn you can search. And you can also search in the Fellows folder. So I will show you what I mean by that. If I'm in the Fellows folder and I'm in the meeting slides, because I know it's something we talked about in meetings, and I search for iframes, this is going to pull up everything in my entire Google Drive, but the things at the top will be the things that were open most recently and that were in the in this subfolder. So for instance, we talked about iframes on day 2 and day 5, so I could pull up both of those. Let's say I pull up day 2, and then I can do, as soon as it loads, I can do Control F and search for iframes. And sure enough, we talked about it in session 2. And if I search again, here's the page, the slides on it. So that's one way if you're kind of not sure, not remembering how to find something. The other way is if you're in HydroLearn. You're in HydroLearn 101. You can search within the course. All courses have a search bar on them, so you can search within any course, but I could search iframe, and it will tell me in section 3, there's a reference to iframes in the learning summary and learning objectives unit. I know what that unit's about, so that's probably not where I'm going to find how to do it. Here is an embedding apps, databases, and maps. That's probably useful. Here's another reference to it there, and another one in summary and learning objectives. So I could click on this, and it will take me to that unit. So if you are struggling to remember which day, which slide, where was this, that's 2 ways that you can search. They're both in our slides for today. That's day 2. So you can search in HydroLearn 101, or you can search the slides in the Fellows folder. All right, so now we're going to talk about the checkout process. We made a Google Doc for you. I'm sure you're not surprised about that. Willie, I'm glad you find them helpful. So the checkout to-do list for you is in the Fellows folder, so I could get to it this way, or I could go in the Fellows folder and go to the checkout to-do list. So we made a 2-column table with tasks and due dates. Some of these due dates are a little bit flexible. So for instance, we hope that you'll revise your module per our feedback by August 31. However, if you plan to implement it in your course on August 20th, that's obviously not a good due date for you. So if you plan to implement it earlier, then you would want to make those revisions earlier. So kind of go through some of these things with you. So we're going to have 4 post-hackathon presentation meetings, as I mentioned yesterday, and as was included in your fellowship application. We picked the dates for those based on our the doodle poll that you completed yesterday. I realize we put the times in here Pacific through Eastern, which is reverse of how we've been doing it. So if you make a copy of this for yourself, you might want to delete all the times that don't have to do with your time zone. So we're going to have 4 dates, the 28th, the 30th of July, and then the 4th and 5th of August. Those were the dates that worked for the dates and times that worked for the most people. During those sessions, we're going to have a kind of like a conference where we'll have you present your modules. An idea that I just had 10 minutes ago, so I'm not sure if my fellow PIs will think this is terrible. I'm going to pose it and they can feel free to knock it down, is that I think it would be great if we have that schedule out ahead of time to ask the fellows to invite any other hydrology or water resources or geosciences faculty who might be interested in those modules to attend. Of course, one of our primary goals is faculty adoption of the modules. And so I feel like if you have other faculty members who are who might be interested, even faculty who maybe a year ago wouldn't have been interested, but in a post-COVID-19 world might be thinking differently about online instruction. Dave, Ahmad, Doug, what are your thoughts on inviting people?
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea too. It does raise the bar a little bit for fellows presenting it, because now they're presenting it not only to people who've been working together on this workshop, but also to outsiders. But I think that's probably a good thing, and you're going to be presenting it to your students soon enough anyway, so it probably should be finished and ready to share with the world.
Christina says raise the bar, so. And
I also, I think it's important to recognize that really, the presentation here is for all of us. It's not to the HydroLearn team, right? This is to all of us. So, think about it like you're sharing this with us and with you all and with the community. So that's that's the spirit of that presentation, I think.
Yeah, and so what those presentations will be, each team will have 20 minutes. So that's 15 minutes to present and then 5 minutes for questions. And that's per team, so per module. So for that whole module. So any questions about that presentation?
It might also be good to make links to the modules that are going to be presented on each day available someplace so people can look at them a couple of days before. That does make the sort of, if you're tinkering with it right up to the day, then it's a little bit of an issue, but hopefully you'll have it in some sort of a polished form just before you're due to present, or a few days before so other people can look at it.
So that probably goes to Willie's question about when the modules would be available for others to adopt. But I guess I'm wondering if we're still going to be going through rounds of revision, if we would want to wait to make them public for people to view until after the revisions. Although I hear your point, Dave. Maybe the PIs and co-PIs need to discuss this a little bit further. What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess I'd be interested in hearing from fellows as to how comfortable they would be putting their work out there by those dates.
Fair question. So if you want to jump into that conversation, either in the chat or by unmuting and just joining, what are your thoughts on
that? I would say that the module developer should be comfortable first to put, he or she can tell us, okay, they are comfortable putting it out there. The word has to come from you guys first, I think. But hopefully by the review process that Melissa will discuss now, by the end of that review process, most of the modules will be ready to be made public.
Right, and there is a process whereby you make them public, and I don't know if your slides are going to cover that, Melissa, but right now I think the modules are sort of by default public, but the way we hide them is by putting their start and end dates both in the past. And to make it public so people can actually discover it when they go to HydroLearn, you have to change the end date to either a date in the future or no date at all, which is taken to be forever.
All right, so in advance of the workshop, we will kind of give more specific directions on that with changing the dates and making it available. A couple of people put some good ideas in the chats. David Spellman said, including in the module title, that it remains a work in progress. And Mauricio said that he feels that our group of fellows probably be more critical than outsiders who would be happy to have the resources, especially as I know many faculty are scrambling to teach more courses in the fall than they have previously. So Joe, we're happy to give feedback at any time along the way as you continue to get ready. So July 31st is kind of the drop dead date for you to share with us that they're due, but anyone who completes their module before then will start the review process when you submit it. And of course, we would be happy not to have all 15 modules come in on July 31st. So anyone who wants to submit early, you get 1,000,000 bonus points if you submit early. Lots of extra credit.
Melissa, did you plan to show this feedback tool or?
Yeah, so I was just trying to keep up with the chat. So IRB approval, I think we already have 5 approvals, so yay, that's exciting. And then of course we have some universities that are looking for some more information. I have been trying to keep up with all those emails as they've come in. So if you, by some chance, did not email your IRB yesterday, please do either talk to me if you have a question or email them as soon as possible. And if you haven't heard back in the next, maybe in 2 weeks, I would reach out again. Sometimes that's a faculty member who's on a 9-month contract, and so they may not be responding over the summer, which is understandable. So finalize your module, as we said, July 31st. But Damien gave me a big smile when I said turn it in earlier if you want, because we don't want them all at the same time. So everybody is, I'll just reiterate that we are happy to receive those ahead of time. And so remember, we took a look at this module feedback tool last week, but I wanted to point it out to you again. It's linked here, but of course it is also in your fellows folder. And so this is the same tool that we will use to structure our feedback to you. So our advice is for you to go through it yourself before submitting your final version on July 31st, just to make sure that you haven't missed or forgotten some of the things we talked about. We know that we gave you a non-trivial amount of information in the last 2 weeks, so we tried to organize it for you here. Again, you can use that for yourself, but you don't need to send your review to us. This is just a tool for you to use, and so that you know what we'll be looking at. And
we
so
will
then,
be using this tool, Melissa, right? The review team will be using this very same tool?
yes, the review team will use this very same tool when we do your review. So if you do it yourself ahead of time, then you are likely to get less feedback from us, which means fewer revisions. And then, so on the 31st, if you will send a link of your module to us so that we can begin the review process. We don't want to begin reviewing if you're behind for any reason, because that's really just double work, right? So here again is the link to the assigned points of contact spreadsheet with our email addresses in case you forget where it is. So here, this one's really, oops, this item is really on us and not on you. We will give you feedback by August 15th or possibly earlier. That's our own internal deadline. So you can expect to get your feedback by August 15th, unless of course you submit after July 31st, in which case you could expect it to be delayed. The next thing then will be taking that feedback and revising your module per the feedback from the guides, and then resubmitting the final version on August 31st. Or if you plan to implement it in your course, then providing it, completing that those revisions sooner. If you plan to implement it in your course and your university course starts before August 15th, we would encourage you to get it to us before July 31st, or if you submit on July 31st, to let us know when you plan to start implementing, so that we can make sure to prioritize giving you feedback. The next thing is forms. You have 2 more forms that you still need to fill out, but you can't fill them out yet because the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, which is the university that will be processing your stipends, they're still not back on campus, and we're working with them to figure out a secure way for you to send your W-9. You do not want to send your W-9 in just an email because it has your social security number and everything in it. So the forms are in this folder, and that should be sorted out by August 31st. Those forms are needed to process your stipend, as I mentioned. So if you don't complete them, we will ask you for them, but we're not going to chase you down. That one's on you. The student learning gains and skills. So one of the data collection tools that we mentioned yesterday is a survey of students assessing their own learning gains, which means that this